Who should actually buy the Inmotion V12S city commuter? Who can safely skip it, and does it justify its price tag for the everyday rider? That's the exact question you ask yourself when a new electric unicycle pops up in your feed, especially when it's marketed with a 120 km range and a 4.3-inch touchscreen that looks like something you'd find on a scooter share fleet. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In the next few minutes I'll walk you through the real-world considerations that matter most: how the V12S fits into daily commutes, what hidden trade-offs it carries, and where the value actually lives beyond the headline specs. Let's start with the most common hesitation: will this thing survive my city streets and still feel safe? The V12S is marketed as a city commuter, but it packs a motorcycle-grade hydraulic suspension that promises off-road dominance. In practice that means the ride feels surprisingly smooth when you hit a pothole or a sudden curb, but it also adds a level of complexity most city riders never need. If you live in a flat, pavement-only environment, the suspension may feel a bit over-engineered, and the extra travel can make the unit feel slightly taller than you're used to, which matters when you're trying to hop on a crowded subway or store it under a desk. On the other hand, if your commute takes you through uneven cobblestones, a university campus with ragged paths, or a suburban neighborhood with occasional gravel, that suspension is a genuine lifesaver. Its ability to absorb bumps translates into less fatigue and fewer surprise jolts that can ruin a morning. Range anxiety is another big factor. The 120 kilometers claim sounds massive, but it's based on ideal, flat road testing at a modest speed. Real-world urban riding, Stopanko traffic, frequent acceleration, occasional headwinds will shave a decent chunk off that number. Most users I've spoken with who put a similar 20 kWh pack on a commuter board see about 8,090 kilometers of usable distance before they start to see a noticeable drop in top speed. That still covers a typical round-trip commute for most people, but you'll want to factor in a safety buffer if you have a long weekend adventure planned. The key here is that the V12S gives you a margin of safety you wouldn't have on a lower capacity model, which can be reassuring for people who hate being stranded midway. Now, about the touchscreen. A 4.3-inch vehicle-grade display is a rare sight in this segment. It's not just a glossy panel, it lets you toggle riding modes, see battery percentage, check speed, and even adjust lighting patterns all with a swipe. In the field, that convenience is mostly a matter of habit. If you're already used to checking a small LED strip or using a phone app, the screen adds an extra layer of immediacy. No need to fumble with a phone on a moving board. However, the display also adds a potential point of failure. In rain or heavy dust, the screen can get smudged or, if you're unlucky, develop a dead pixel. The IPX6 rating means it can handle strong water jets, but prolonged exposure to mud splashes or harsh UV isn't something you want to test deliberately. So, if you love having all the info at your fingertips and you're comfortable keeping the board clean, the screen is a win. If you prefer a simpler, more rugged device, you might see it as unnecessary complexity. Security is often an afterthought, but the V12S includes a smart security suite with real-time monitoring. In simple terms, the board can send you alerts if it's moved without authorization, and there's an audible alarm that can be triggered remotely. For people who park their EVU in shared spaces, offices, or even on the street, that feature can be a peace-of-mind booster. I've heard from a few commuters who lost a cheaper board to a walk-away theft. The alarm and tracking would have at least given them a chance to recover it. On the flip side, the security system relies on a steady Bluetooth connection to your phone. If you leave your phone in a bag or it runs out of battery, you lose that real-time monitoring, which means the alarm becomes more of a deterrent than a recovery tool. It's a solid layer of protection, but it's not a substitute for a good lock or a locked parking area. Audio is a lighter, but still notable feature. PartySync allows you to share music instantly with nearby V12S owners. In a crowded city park or at a street festival, that could turn a solo ride into a spontaneous group jam. The practical benefit for a daily commuter, however, is limited. Most people wearing earbuds or using a separate smartphone for music will never use PartySync, so it's a novelty more than a necessity. If you love the idea of spontaneous who's got the same board moments, it's a fun perk, otherwise, it's a feature you'll probably ignore. Let's talk pricing. The V12S sits in the higher-end bracket of electric unicycles, and that price is justified primarily by the large battery, the hydraulic suspension, and